Hey everyone, it's Miss Rose from the LaGrange Park Library here with Kids Kitchen. Today we are going to make a chocolate chunk banana bread. Super easy. I hate to waste food, so if I ever have old bananas, I love to do this really quick recipe. So what we're going to do to get started is set out all of our ingredients. So you can see here we've got bananas, 1 cup of sugar. A little less is okay too if you don't like it so sweet. Yeah, 1/3 cup of melted butter, 1 egg that's already beaten. We're going to do a teaspoon of vanilla, a teaspoon of baking soda, a pinch of salt, 1.5 cups of flour, and then about 3/4 cup of chocolate. And if you're unfamiliar with working with butter, the way that you figure out what 1/3 is it's usually on the stick of butter or 5 tablespoons worth. So if it doesn't say 1/3, you just know that's 5 tablespoons, like it says. All right. So the first thing we're going to do is to mash up our bananas. And one thing, if you really want banana bread, but your bananas are still pretty good, they're not too old yet, you can always throw a banana in the microwave. Just be careful and watch it. Like this one, I threw in the microwave. So it's a little gooey, but we'll give it a try. And this recipe calls for 3 or 4 ripe bananas. So I usually like to go with 4, just to give it that extra banana flavor. And it's kind of gross and sticky, but it'll be over soon. Okay. Okay, so I do that. And then I just like to use a fork to mash them. But if you have a potato masher, you could use that. So we're just going to use a fork today. This is pretty easy. They're pretty soft, especially that one I put in the microwave. It's a little warm. You don't want to put it in when it's hot. So you also want to make sure that you don't explode a banana in the microwave, because I have done that before too. That is a lot to clean up. Okay, so we're pretty well mashed. It should just be pretty mushy like this. It's okay if there are still a few large chunks, but this is a good amount of banana for the banana bread. Great. Okay, so we're done with that. And oh, if I forgot to mention, one thing we want to make sure we do before we start cooking is always wash your hands. And I did that before I started. So the other thing, you want to make sure you're working on a clean surface, so we can make sure to clean the counter. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add in the melted butter. And then we're going to mix that up just a little bit, and then we're going to add in the sugar. Actually, we'll go in order. Usually a recipe will list the ingredients in the order that you use them. Sometimes they don't, so just check that first. So this one says to throw the sugar in next, so we'll do that. A little bit left in here, okay. And again, just mix it together very loosely. And then you're going to add your egg already beaten. So to do that ahead of time, you just crack an egg and mix it up with a fork. And then we add that in. And then we add in the vanilla. So I like to use the real vanilla. There's imitation stuff out there, but I don't feel like it tastes as good. So we're going to do a teaspoon. And then I'm going to add in the baking soda, which is, again, a teaspoon. I'm just going to rinse my teaspoon. Again, this is a nice recipe because it's super easy to make. Not a lot of ingredients. baking soda. And we're going to do our pinch of salt. So if you don't have your salt like I do, where it's in an open container and it's in a shaker, you could just give it a couple shakes, but I'm just going to do, I'm going to do 2 pinches. Okay. And I'm going to stir that together with our fork. The nice thing about the fork too is if you get anything on the edges, it'll help you scrape them down. You could also use a rubber spatula for that. Okay, and then this is a good time to see if there's any giant chunks of banana to kind of mush those into smaller chunks. Okay. All right, now we're going to add the flour. And stir that in. And I always like to throw a little something extra in my banana bread. So I like to put cinnamon in it. And sometimes I'll put ground clove also, which is really nice around the winter. That nice winter spice. So I'm going to throw some of that in now too. Cinnamon. And I just kind of, do it like this. But if you want a measurement, I would say a teaspoon. And I think we'll add a little clove today, just to make it interesting. Okay, so on the clove, give it just a little shake because that stuff is strong. All right, get back to stirring that up. Whoops. Okay. And here's that rubber spatula if you need to get, like in my bowl, you can see there's flour all around the edges. We want to get that down. Don't want any raw flour. Okay, that's pretty good. And one thing I like to do is just give it a little taste. So what you want to be careful with now is, with everything going on, and if you're sharing this, hopefully, anything would bake off, but just don't stick your fingers in it. Is a good way to go. So I usually do like a spoon or the back of the spoon. Oh, that's good. All right. Now we need to add our chocolate chunks. Just pour them in, stir it up. And then it's ready for the pan. Okay, so here's our pan. It's a 4 by 8 inch loaf pan, and we want to grease the inside. So I like to use butter. I usually have like a dedicated little thing of butter for greasing pans. And you want to make sure to get all the way up to the top and in the corners too. If you don't want to do butter, you can use like a cooking spray. That's fine too, and sometimes that helps get better coverage so that your banana bread doesn't stick. All right. Okay, and then we pour it in to the pan. And then it's going to go in the oven, and it's going to bake for about an hour. But I recommend keeping an eye on it. You want to definitely insert a toothpick and see if it comes out clean after maybe about 50 minutes. So we will be back with the finished product. Okay, so we are back and the banana bread is out of the oven. I will give you a look. It's still a little warm. You Can't quite see those chocolate chunks, but they're in there. And so what we did was I left it in today for 50 minutes and it was on 350. And you just want to insert a toothpick and make sure it comes out clean, and that's how you know it's ready. So I'm going to cool it in the pan. I usually put it on a wire rack, or you could bunch up some towels just to get a little air underneath so the bottom doesn't stay so hot. And then when it's cool, we'll turn it out of the pan and you can cut it. And that is our chocolate chunk banana bread. The recipe will be below the video. Have fun!